show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Bass in your face. Bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negro. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is discuss everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. For that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. Those issues pertaining to Latinos in the United States. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled, meaning if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the channel, you will need to enter a comment in the channel. You need to subscribe to the channel for at least for the first 5 minutes. I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to on. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. And being that this is, well, another evening, we're going to have another episode of Open Discussion. Now, normally I will have it scheduled for Friday and Friday nights. Being tomorrow's Good Friday, I decided to have it on tonight. Tomorrow I'll do my annual Good Friday message. Now, I want to let everybody know that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit the link and opine about anything that I will talk about today, they may do so. Let me make this perfectly clear. If I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one tries to flash any adult content which would cause the people of YouTube to take down this stream. Once I determine that you're not going to try that, then I'll let you on the planet. Now, let me just give you a brief rundown what next week's schedule is going to be like. Um, I will do a live on Sunday night, Monday night. Okay. Now, as far as when I'll do a live on my other channel, it'll be either Monday night or Wednesday night. I will let everyone know on Sunday, and of course the times will vary. So you really need to set the notifications to all in order so that you could be notified when I will go on. Now, now what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to discuss, it's something that happened at a restaurant. where there was an incident. Well, let me explain to you what happened. There was a bunch of, okay, I'm not going to use the term loosely, ladies that gathered for lunch. One of them was celebrating their birthday. So it was a whole bunch of ladies. Okay, I don't know how many there were. Apparently, there were several ladies, and there came a time where the bill came. So the person that was hosting the birthday bash tried to split the check um, to each person. What happened was there was a situation where it got violent. One woman pulled out a knife. Another woman took a bottle, broke it, and the police had to be called in. And it led to several of the upper party who got arrested for assault. Now we have heard on and on and on how today, women are boss chicks. Women don't need men. Women could, you know, um, make their own, make their own money and things of that nature. But it's sad when you have the situation when, and I'm gonna be making perfectly clear, and I'm gonna put, of course, I'm gonna put my disclaimers. Not all women act this way. There are women that are responsible. There are women that are mature. There are women that know what they want. There are women that have reasonable expectation and who they're looking for as a partner. Unfortunately, for this group of women, none of those things applied. Unfortunately, and this is perpetrated by social media, which creates the delusion that women can sleep with whoever they wish, racked up huge body counts. Okay, just like loose women thinking that they're going to get quality men, and that men don't care if they have if they engage with intercourse with dozens of men or hundreds of men, and thinking that the only thing that they can offer a man is a vagina. Okay. Now there are shallow men that all they care about is the vajayjay. All they care about is sleeping with this person, this person, this person. But there are many men that looking for women uh, who could be nurturing, who could be supportive, uh, who can bring peace. The last thing they need is someone that's going to be combative, someone that's going to be arguing, someone that's going to be impossible to deal with, someone that's going to be constantly um, comparing to their exes. Okay. And again, let me make this perfectly clear. I'm talking about some women, not all. Some. But this is the delusion that you have women, and then you have women who can weigh 300, 400, 500 pounds, and thinking that they're the prize, thinking that they're perfect tens, thinking that they can get um, high quality men. What some of these women they don't realize is the men. Okay, the men that they are want to see, the men they claim that state that they want, the men that they want have standards. Okay, and also they have options. Okay, I mean, if you're talking about a man that's making a six-figure income or a seven-figure income, men that are physically fit, men who have their stuff together. They're gonna have their pick as far as women that they want. And what happened is many of them are gonna pick women who are younger because they have less, in theory, less baggage to deal with. Also, it is likely that they have slept with less men. They're not gonna. I mean, if I let's keep it honest. Let's keep it real. If I think of myself as a high value man making a six-figure income or a seven-figure income, I'm physically fit. I'm self-confident. I'm well mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and what have you. I'm gonna have me pick who I wish to date, and I'm gonna date women who have less baggage. And this is something that some of these women do not understand, particularly some of these women who have made poor choices as far as giving birth to children. Now, let me make this perfectly clear. There are many ways that a woman could become a single parent. Okay, one of them is through the death of the spouse. Another one is, if there was a case of um, physical abuse or sexual abuse, or if it's a case of abandonment. Okay, that's different. But if you're talking about a woman who had made poor choices as far as who they're going to sleep with, that's different altogether. And particularly, it's different more baby daddies. And then to add insult to injury, they're seeking men to basically to their financial needs, but yet not allowing the discipline that as far as our dating preferences are concerned. And I'm going to take myself for an example. First of all, I am a male in my mid 60s. I am not physically fit. Okay, yes, I lost a good 60 pounds. Okay. I look reasonably okay. But if I was dating, I would have to stick with women that are closer to my age, women who are in their 60s or even their 50s. Okay. I have no business dating a woman in the 20s, 30s, or even their 40s. It also happens that I have a relationship with a woman that's 40 years old. Okay. And there's a considerable age gap of approximately 23 years. The difference is, first of all, I was transparent with her from the beginning in terms of the fact that there is a significant age gap of over 20 years. And that I actually asked her, wouldn't you feel comfortable dating someone closer to your age? Well, my lady said um, that did not matter. Okay. But I believe in being transparent. I believe in letting the, my partner know about me and what to expect from me. because she has to deal with my idiosyncrasies and what have you. Just like I have to deal with her idiosyncrasy. It is perfectly logical. Okay. And one of the reasons why relationships do not last is that people have unrealistic expectations on the person that they choose to date. They expect the world and have a high list of standards. And for some women, the only thing they can offer is their vagina. Just get me wrong. And this is, and we can have whatever expectations that we wish. However, those expectations are meaningless if the type of person that we are pursuing does not wish to pursue us, or does not wish to have a romantic relationship with us. And one thing we have to understand is, in order to maintain a romantic relationship, there has to be mutual respect, mutual understanding. There has to be compromises. There has to be understanding that we're not going to get our way all the time. And we need to communicate clearly what are our expectations. And then, based on our expectations, that's going to determine whether or not the person that we wish to pursue wants to be pursued by us. And if the person that we wish to pursue does not wish to get into a romantic relationship with us, we need to be mature enough and move on. The problem is that today there are many people that have trauma that's never been dealt with. Okay. And I've seen it all the time when people have trauma from previous relationships, and instead of getting themselves healed and getting therapy, what they do is they'll carry the same type of emotional baggage onto their new relationship. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll paint a broad brush regarding the entire opposite sex. And what that does is it makes securing a serious relationship very difficult. And I know of a situation of a female that had experienced several unsuccessful relationships, going from one bad relationship to a one bad relationship. And one of the mistakes that she has made is, instead of getting herself healed, instead of dealing with what caused the relationship to fail, getting into another relationship. Okay. And the cycle continues. Why? Because she has never dealt with what caused the relationship to fail. She has not dealt with the emotional trauma involved. And basically, what's done is just, bring on trauma to the other men, and then the cycle continues. So what I recommend is that once you end the relationship with someone, give yourself time to heal mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. How long? It all depends on what was done. It all depends on the emotional scars they have been inflicted. Okay, so I cannot give like a definitive answer as far as what time you should be out of the dating market before you return, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different coping mechanism. Everyone deals with ending of relationships differently. So I can't just give a path. Okay, excuse me. Just give me a moment. My apologies. It's just every now and then I do need to check on Instagram and see who's watching. Okay, because I tend to not look into it and see who's watching. So I just wanted to make sure if there's anyone that was watching on Instagram, um, that I acknowledge their presence. Now, the next thing I'm talk about is all this week I've been adjusting to working at a new location. Okay, what makes it challenging is where it is located. It is located deep in the city. Okay. Now, as far as traveling time, if I was to take public transportation, anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours. Okay. And if I use my share carts, vehicle, share car service or vehicle service to get to work, it's over an hour. So I'm in the process of trying to get myself transferred to a location closer to home. Okay. First of all, because I do not wish to take 2 hours out of my day traveling to my job. I would rather prefer a place closer to home. Okay. And of course, I have to get used to like not only a new location, also dealing with how things are done. Okay. Now there are two entrances at my work location. There is an entrance which is reserved for clients, and then there's an entrance that's reserved for staff. Now, one thing that makes it a challenge is that in order to gain entry into the building, you need a special type of card with identification. With that, you're able to get it. You're able to enter the building. You're able to enter your floor. Also you can use your card. Um, if you print any documentation, you'll need to go to a printer and you need to just uh, scan your card and you're able to print your documents. And if you wish to scan anything, the same thing applies. You will use this type of card, scan, to hover it, and then you can scan your documents. So that's interesting. Also, another challenge is that where I'm working, there is no place, not many places to eat that in proximity to my job. So what I do is, of course, I bring my lunch from home because it can be very expensive to dine out. So what I'll have to do is that basically whenever I decide to eat out, instead of trying to find a place that I can eat out, I will have to like DoorDash it or use Uber Eats. I mean, it's a new building, um, and of course, with a new building, there are is challenges. Okay, so basically, I'm just trying to deal with it as best I can. Not complain about it. Try to try to figure out how it works. Try to deal with it with the people that's working on my floor, dealing with the other union reps that are on the floor, and so it's all a process. It's going to take a while for me to get used to how things are done over there. Okay, which brings out something that I have discussed before, which is change. Okay, and we all have to adapt from time to time. Okay, there's very few things that remain constant. Okay, change is necessary. Change is it's something that will occur. I mean, we experience changes in our lifestyle. I mean, we first start out as babies, or we need our mothers to feed us, change us, and clothe us, and things of that nature. And as we get older, we learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to go to the restroom and um, get rid of our dispose of our body fluids, and then we get older, we learn how to speak, we learn how to dress ourselves, we learn how to interact with others. We also learn the difference between good and evil. And then we enter into the teenage years, which has its own challenges because we're technically not children, but then again, we're not adults either. And of course, we are exposed to a lot of influences, many of them negative, and of course, we get into struggles with our parents and the legal guardians, and of course, there are always disagreements and things of that nature, and then teenagers, what they are, talk about how parents don't realizes that there's not, as the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, we all experience it. Peer pressure. We all experience disappointments. We all experience it being awkward. We all experience it trying to fit in. So there's really nothing new underneath the sun. I see here that I'm not going to stay on that long, but there are one or two things that I do wish to discuss before I end this live. For the benefit of those who are just tuning in, this is another episode of Open Discussion, which I will share my views, and of course, the audience, those in the chat, have an opportunity to opine regarding anything that was discussed. Also, if they have any topics they want me to discuss, I will do my best to comply. Now, there might be some topics where I do not have a great deal of knowledge, and I will be transparent. Also, there's certain things that I prefer not to get into because unfortunately, not everyone is capable of speaking without getting emotional. Now, the next thing that I will discuss is that things have been rather very quiet so far in these YouTube streets, which I am happy about it. Okay, because that means there's no drama, there's no beefs and things of that nature. So, of course, I know that things can change in a minute. Things can trauma can occur, beefs can occur, things of that nature. But what I've learned is that try to avoid getting involved with beefs with other people. If people want to go on and argue about each other, that's fine as long as they do it on their platforms. One thing I do not appreciate when people try to bring their beefs to my platform. Okay. First of all, because I don't want to hear it. Second of all, I don't want to get involved. Third of all, I mean, it's none of my business. And if people just learn how to not stick their nose where they don't belong, people would be happier. People would not be stressed out. People would not be going through whatever issues that they are going through. Now, I see here that Saturday night, my friend Radical Latino will go live regarding the state of Latinos in the United States. That's going to be an interesting topic, especially in light of the fact that many Latinos voted for Trump in 2024, and many of them have expressed regrets, um, mainly because the exploitation of millions of people, and some of them are actually U.S. citizens. Others have been legally entered the country. Okay, and of course, his mission to try to eliminate birthright citizenship, and talking about that we're the only country in the world that have it. No, other countries have it. Countries like Canada and Mexico. I mean, why is he doing it? I don't know. I don't think even he knows. But recently, there were arguments that were made by members of the Supreme Court regarding that issue. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I have a feeling the Supreme Court will rule that Trump cannot do anything regarding birthright citizenship, which means, guess what? Some people may be deported, particularly his wife. But unfortunately, some people, they just don't think about things. Some people just don't think about the consequences. Okay. You just please excuse me. It's just that every now and then I do have to check and see if anyone watching in Instagram. Now the final thing that I'm going to talk about is what I call is individual accountability, and this is mainly dealing with content creators. Okay. Yes, they have the right to produce whatever content they wish. Yes, they have the right to invite whoever they wish. But just at the same time, they have a right. They have these rights. There's also responsibilities. One responsibility is make sure that people um, maintain decorum, maintain mutual respect. And if someone from the panel is acting inappropriately, it is the responsibility of the host to enlighten that person and inform them that if they continue, they may be removed from the panel and or blocked from appearing on the channel. Now, there's some people that do not take this responsibility seriously. Um, I don't have a great deal of tolerance regarding people who don't regulate how other people act. Um, if that's the case, what I will do is I will remove myself because if there is someone acting inappropriately towards anyone on the panel or anyone in the chat, and that person decides not to take any action, in essence, the conduct. And of course, I have been taken to task simply for stating that, and that certain people should be given a pass. Good evening, April Charles. Thank you very much for stopping by. I just want to let everybody know that my friend April Charles has her own channel where she produces her content. So I'm gonna ask that you show some love for her and check out her content and subscribe. So we're having another episode of um, open discussion. I miss you too, but you know what? We we have been very busy. Okay, so I get it. We've been very busy. We both have our lives and responsibilities that we have to take care of. Okay, so right now I'm talking about um, the responsibility that hosts have uh, on their respective channels. Okay, they first of all they monitor who gets on the panel. They monitor who is on the chat. Okay, and while they can invite whoever they wish, it is their responsibility to make sure that everyone abides by the rules and guidelines that the host has made. And if they do, then it's up to the host to take action. Now, unfortunately, there have been times when I have been taken to task because I have insisted that the host, monitor their platforms. And there was a recent incident regarding another YouTube creator where someone was acting inappropriately, and I tried to have it addressed by the host, and the host chose not to take any action, claiming that the person is, how can I say it, have developmental delays. Now, I did not interact with this person on a regular basis, so I have no way of knowing. I don't read minds. Okay. So as a result, I removed myself from the platform, and I unsubscribed um, to that person's channel, because if the person is not going to is not going to make sure that everyone's mutually respectful and not going to enforce their guidelines, then the best thing to do is unsubscribe. It is nothing personal, but it is. And also, there was another content creator which I have no longer subscribed to, where this person had a guest that made racist remarks about me and made They do not embrace Christianity. The host did nothing to correct this person's behavior. So of course I did the logical thing, lo- drop down and unsubscribe to that. Exactly. We all we all need to stand by uh, for our individual roles and values. Okay. Unfortunately, some people accountability is like kryptonite. Okay, it's a foreign word for some people, and to be perfectly honest, I have very little patience with people who refuse to take accountability for their actions, and I don't have a great deal of respect towards them. It's nothing personal, but if you're the type of person that is not wanting to take accountability towards your actions, then there's no need for me to interact with you. No offense, and I don't harbor anyone any ill will. It's just that some people I would avoid um, in order to keep my peace, and that's why I try to avoid toxic people like the plague. I mean, unfortunately, there's some content creators that love to create drama. Okay, April, it's okay. I mean, and honest, I have been advised to avoid the black sector. Period. Um, due to some of the, due to some, no. Now, I'm not the type of person that's going to paint a broad brush towards everybody. I always believe that there is good in everybody and there's bad in everybody. Okay. What I will avoid is people who are toxic, people who are disrespectful, people that's not going to be able to engage in an argument without getting emotional, without yelling, without getting. I don't need people acting that way. If you want to act that, yep, that is so true. That is so true. That is so true. Now, I'm not gonna say that the whole black sector is bad. Okay, there are. Well, I will say that there's some that are troublesome. Some, but just because there are some people that are troublesome doesn't mean that the whole sector is bad. And I'm gonna say this with all the love. Okay, look. Unfortunately, there have been certain individuals that make racist remarks towards calling me Mexican. calling me undocumented. Now, mind you, I was born in the United States, so I'm a U.S. citizen. Mind you that people from Puerto Rico has been given U.S. citizenship since 1917. I've had people who made false accusations. The latest is that I have bought subs. That's how we all should be. We all should welcome everybody, okay, regardless of our differences, okay. But some people are not very tolerant, April, and that's sad. Those who are not tolerant, it is best not to deal with them. It is best not to engage with them. Because again, let me make this perfectly clear. I cannot control what other people say. I can only control what's going to be my response. And I just want to let you know, April, I made you a mod on my channel. Okay. So of course you have the privilege and responsibility to making sure that act appropriately. Okay. But I know for a fact for some for some people I'm not their cup of tea. I have, and that's perfectly fine with me. Because when everything is said and done, as long as God is happy with me, as long as Hossein Negron is happy with me, that what counts. And with that, what I would do is, since no one else is going to join me, I'm going to start to wrap this up. What I will say is that we all need to strive to be the best versions of ourselves. If there are things that we need correction, we need to be humble, accept it, and humble enough that people correct us so we can be the best version of ourselves. Again, of course, I would encourage all to please consider subscribing to my channel. Set the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. And again, if you have not subscribed to April Shows, please consider doing so. I will be live tomorrow at 12:30 with my Good Friday message. You should, it's meant to be a message of hope and message regarding how deep God love is. And of course, the playback end, you're more than welcome to do your thing. You're more than welcome to leave your comments. Please keep it respectable because if not, they will be deleted. And of course, those of you enjoy your weekend, keep safe, and let your light shine for others. Well, some people, like I said, some people cannot take accountability. Not me, and I'm sure you're the same way. And of course, we're going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by stupidity and massive insanity. And of course, what we say to do, we should do to the glory of God. And with that being said, I wish all of you a blessed good night. Let's be mindful that tomorrow's Good Friday and understand the meaning behind it. So I wish all of you a good night. Take care, stay blessed, and